All right. Well, I want to welcome everyone. Want to thank you for joining this part of this series that we actually do in collaboration with the STEM Leadership Alliance. And today's topic is empowering parents understanding AI in schools. And with us today, it's quite an honor. We have David Graver, who's been diving into this deeply, who I'm going to turn it over to go ahead and start to share, David.
Thank you very much, Kelly. It's nice to be back for part six of our webinar series on AI in schools and sort of getting into the nitty-gritty of planning and learning and using the tools. And we've taken cohorts on a couple of trips to Tennessee State University to work with some real folks, some folks that are real close to the epicenter of the AI movement in education. And we felt that it was really vital for us to connect with families. We've done a lot of stuff for teachers. We've talked about the students. We've talked about the leadership. We've talked about all those angles. But the one angle we need to really cover is empowering parents and getting them to understand how AI is working in their schools and also in their homes. So on that note, I want to start us off by saying that every single parent today is raising the first generation that will grow up alongside AI. So our job isn't to protect kids from AI, it's to prepare them through it. And that's sort of the theme that we wanted to carry through this presentation for you, and so that you can utilize this and the tools that I'm going to share with you today going forward. So, what I want to do is share with you a roadmap for today, sort of the four areas we're going to talk about. We're going to do a little 101, little AI 101, basic stuff for families, take a look at some of the research, try to understand, where this is in our lives and bookmark where we are with AI at this time. The second piece we want to look at is how AI exists in your children's schools. Okay. The third piece we want to do is, as we travel down this path, is we really want to explore the benefits and the risks of AI, as well as important details and guardrails, that things that we can really look to help us solve any problems that might come up with AI. And then finally, we'll cover practical home strategies, grade band routines, and how to partner with schools. Throughout, however, we're going to use a tool that I'm going to define as something called the CLEAR Compass. CLEAR is clearly an acronym, and I'll share that with you as we go through the presentation. But this CLEAR Compass will help guide us, and it is a framework that will help parents navigate this very, very prescient topic. So that's our roadmap for today. And we're going to start by taking a look at the 101 for families. AI 101 for families, I like to call it. So I'm not going to read the slide to you, but you can see here that there's a couple of areas that I want to look at. All right. So AI tools, they're not decision makers. Simply, they're sophisticated assistants that analyze data to make helpful predictions and suggestions for the user. Schools can use AI to support reading, provide real-time translation, offer writing feedback, and create accessibility tools, as we've seen throughout the series. The technology handles routine tasks so that teachers can focus on meaningful instruction and personal connection. Now, when used thoughtfully, AI can help students express ideas more clearly and confidently. So, that said, the goal of AI is not to replace the critical thinking, but to strengthen it through guided and intentional use, right? So, it's important for us to take a look at some of the research, right? So, some of the research shows these following points that I find interesting, right? And this is only 20% of teachers are currently using AI tools. Often it's due to a clear lack of policy around the district. So they want to use it, but they can't use it because there's not a policy that allows them to use it effectively. Most parents have mixed opinions about AI in schools and aren't receiving much information from districts. Very few teachers have received training on AI, making their knowledge highly variable depending on where you go. And school district communication with families about AI is still in the very early stages. And so these particular findings, they underscore why educating families like this is so important and developing a framework amongst our audience to understand how to navigate these waters, right? These are vital, important times. So there's a significant and knowledge and communication gap that parents, that when they're armed with the right information, can foster a more informed and collaborative approach with their children's schools around AI in their children's education. So before we think about the kids and the schools, let's think about us as adults. Let's think about how we adults use AI and what that actually means for our children. So, digging into some more of that research, it's important to understand some key things. So, let's take a look at some key findings that I found interesting for us, right? So, 60% of US adults interact with AI at least several times a week. That comes from Pew, right? So that's a key fact, right? As adults, we're increasingly integrating this AI into our daily lives, whether it's at work or it's at home, right? 40% are using AI in the workplace, and 67% say it has improved their efficiency. So these are some interesting data points. We also need to note that 26% of adults have also reported increased stress from AI, and 57% admit to hidden AI use at work, right? So, what we need to think about is our own relationship with AI and the example that it sets for the next generation. When we look at this data, right, this data has to be translated into something useful for our purposes as educators. So we know that modeling is at the heart of all learning, okay, no matter what kind of learning, what kind of technologies we're using. Modeling, teacher modeling is key. Parent modeling is even more key, right? So when you say something like, I'll just ask ChatGPT to draft that email, what you're doing is you're teaching your child how to approach the new tool, whether it's as a thinking partner or as a shortcut. So that's just one example, but how you model the AI use at home is critical to how your children will dive into that technology, right? When we use AI, we should ask ourselves if it's helping us to think more deeply, or is it just doing the work for us? And what we want is for our children to develop that same kind of reflective practice, right? We're not going to shy away from these tools. We're going to engage with them purposefully. We're going to show our thinking process around them, and we're going to invite our children into the conversation. And by acknowledging our own use and actually looking at the data, we build a credibility when we ask our children to show us how they used it or what it missed or what they might have added. Okay, and that credibility is key with our kids, as we know, right? So let me show you some examples. All right, some practical classroom examples, how this is being used in schools. Right. So now that you sort of the basic, the 101s, right, we know that it's searching information, it's gathering information, it's organizing information, but it's not making decisions. It's not doing the critical thinking work. So how can we look at it and practically within the classroom, how it's already empowering educators and students across multiple subject areas, and it's making the learning more engaging, personalized, and accessible for all learners. So here's some examples, right? In reading comprehension, for example, there's platforms like that have been in schools for a couple of years and are just increasing their use of AI. Platforms like Newsy LA, Lexia Learning. Those platforms use AI to adapt text difficulties, suggest vocabulary, identify patterns, etc. And they help improve students improve their their comprehension, their understanding. We use iReady in New York City public schools all over the place. It's adaptable. We know that there's language translation tools like Google Translate. There's hundreds of them. The Meta AI glasses. There's all kinds of tools, AI tools in the classroom that can help break down the communication barrier so that we can foster that inclusivity that we really want to see, right? We also have AI-powered writing assistants like Grammarly for Education or Quill. They offer instant feedback on grammar, style, structure to help students refine their writing. Doesn't do the writing for them, but it helps them refine it. Finally, technologies like Read and Write, they leverage AI for text to speech. You can only imagine the possibilities with that for certain audiences. right? Speech to text, predictive text, assisting students with diverse learning needs so that all learners can fully engage with content. So AI has a lot of practical uses in the classroom, I'd say. It's important to recognize that because as we start to transition into how this is going to be used in schools, we know it's got practicality. We know what it does for us at home. We understand the 101s, but we need something to help guide us. And so that's why we developed the Clear Compass. And the Clear Compass are essentially five essential pillars for navigating AI in both the school and at home. So this is a tool that works across locations. And the C in clarity stands for clarity, for clear stands for clarity. And basically, what that means is we want to understand exactly which AI tools your child's school uses and what's the purpose behind each one. So be clear. Be clear about what you're using AI for and how you're using it. The L stands for learning. Regularly ask your child how AI is helping them think more deeply and not just working faster. Critical. Equity is the E, and that's to ensure that AI tools provide meaningful support for all learners, including those with disabilities, English language learners, and folks with diverse backgrounds. For me, in the compass, the A is the true north because it's the agency and it's the place where we encourage children to reflect on their own choices and to take their ownership of their own learning, right? So that's this the agency component in this compass is the center because what it does is it forces us to recognize how we're using these tools. And finally, the R for rigor, the second most important one in my book, because the rigor component allows us to set high expectations for citation, evidence-based reasoning, and original thinking when using AI. So, and we've talked about this across our a series of six webinars. When we design learning experiences and we lead with a rich task that is a high level thinking task that allows students to really apply principles and take the AI and utilize the AI to work through their reasoning to solve a problem is when we're really instilling rigor. It's that DOK level four kind of stuff. It's that high level Bloom's taxonomy work. It's the rigor. So the clear compass talks about clarity, learning, equity, agency, and rigor. And it provides a guide. So let's take a look at how each one of these kind of plays out, right? We're going to put this compass into practice, for example. So here's some concrete, actionable examples of how parents can apply this compass framework to support your child's learning journey along with AI, right? So we know the five key pillars: clarity, learning, equity, agency, and rigor. And now for each pillar, I'm going to provide a specific scenario, and we're going to take actionable steps that you can take to help your student through this electronic jungle. So, clarity, understand the what and why. If your child mentions using an AI writing assistant, ask the teacher about the specific tools used and their learning objectives. Know what the teacher is using. Don't just take your child's word for it. Curriculum night, ask those questions if it's not being presented to you. Review any and all school communications and check the newsletters, the website for all the policies. All school districts have policies, all schools have policies. Check them. There should be some AI policies starting to crop up now. So review them, know them, empower yourself, be clear on what's out there and what your children are being exposed to. Now, in the learning point of the compass, right? We really are trying to foster a deeper engagement, not shy away, the opposite, to foster a deeper engagement. So when your child shows you something that was generated by AI, a summary or, a review of something, discuss it and ask them how it helped them to think differently. And did it prompt them to critically review what AI put out, strengths and weaknesses? For equity, well, this one kind of speaks for itself. We advocating for inclusive AI use So at the parent-teacher conferences, for example, inquire about how AI tools are being used to support diverse learners and English language learners. My child, for example, requires the directions to be read to them. So maybe the AI can help with that component. There's lots of different accommodations that we can use the AI to help support and advocate inclusivity. So we need to be clear on how the school is using them, and how it's using them for the learning and to create the equity. And of course, if you know of things as parents, because we don't know everything, share them with the school, right? So agency, again, the true north of this compass. When your child uses an AI tool for brainstorming, ask them which ideas resonate most, how they're going to develop them to reflect their own voice, not just, wow, that's cool, but okay, great. Now, how are you going to take what AI gave you and how are we going to use that and to develop your own voice or your own point of view? It helps your child understand that AI is just a tool and the child is the decision maker, the learner is the decision maker. Rigor, again, close to true north. Number two, maintaining high academic standards. If your child references AI provided information and report, emphasize the importance of fact checking and citing all sources. We know that AI hallucinates. We've talked about it here. Still not sure why they call it hallucinating, but is what it is. We need to double check. We need to fact check. We need to cite sources. We need to make sure that what AI is telling us is accurate. So the rigor of actually using AI is not just entering things, but it's entering things and making sure that they're legitimate. So this is a really, really good way to use this tool both at home and in conjunction with your child's work in the classroom. All right. So I'll give you some examples and some scenarios of each of these points of the compass so that you can use them more explicitly. Right. And so let's take a look. Let's take a look here, what we've got. Right. So the key message is that parents, you, should empower yourselves by understanding the specific tools that are being used in your child's school and what the purpose of using them is. That clarity will help you build confidence and allow parents to effectively to support your child's learning so that you're not just a bystander, right? Because the research shows that school to family communication, not just about AI, but about anything, is still in the early stages around AI. So we need to be proactive in seeking it out, right? You just like any information from a school or a school district, you want to be proactive in getting that information. So be that parent, be proactive, right? Provide a visual representation of the different sources of information. So like create yourself, you can create sort of an organizational chart for yourself as a parent or as a family. What are the different things and the tools that the school is using for my child? Right? Like a dashboard to help you understand your overall experience. So communicating with the school, perhaps they can create that. Like in New York City public schools, we have dashboards galore where we have all the tools that we use that we can share with families through the Google Classroom. So that's something that you can do, right? We want to highlight a specific scenario, you know, like parents reaching out to the teacher saying, hey, I noticed my son's writing is improving. Are we using any AI writing assistants? If so, which ones can I use them at home? Right? You want to review the school communications, the newsletters. I've said this a couple times tonight. What are the approved AI resources? Are they approved? Are you using them? Not, are you gonna get in trouble for using these tools? So you have to make sure that everything is clear, right? So these are some examples how how we might, use this true north, this compass, this clarity component, right? So let's take a look how we might see how learning works, right? So we know that AI should spark curiosity and critical thinking, right? Not replace it. Those are the key tenets of this whole series. Is AI should spark curiosity and encourage critical thinking, but not replace it. So help your child use the AI to explore topics from multiple angles to build a genuine understanding. So you might generate the AI might generate an initial summary, okay? But we need to work with our child and our families to question the assumptions that come out of it, to explore related topics, to synthesize the information across those related topics, to create original ideas out of those topics. So an example would be your child shows you the summary that it generated for the book that he was reading or she was reading for the project, right? The book report. Discuss with your child. Well, how did the AI help you to think about the topic differently? Did the AI suggest things that you use? Did the AI suggest things that you want to explore further? These are great questions to ask. Encourage critical review. Prompt your child to identify strengths and weaknesses of the AI's output. Hey, that looks strange. Are you sure that's legitimate? Go back in and review the work with your child so that we can identify the strengths or the weaknesses of what the AI is actually putting it out, so that you're a partner with your child and not just the checker, right? You're doing it together. You want to connect prior knowledge. Does this summary remind you of anything else you learned prior? Can you connect it to things? So you're taking on the role, right, at home of the bridge, right? You're connecting the tools and the learning and asking them if they were able to connect it back to things they've done in the past. So the learning, it fosters that deeper engagement with your child. All right. Encourage them to critically review the strengths and weaknesses. I can't urge you enough to do that, because the goal is to help your child use AI as a tool to explore topics from multiple angles, not just accept the AI's conclusions at face value. Right? For the equity component, right? This is again pretty self-explanatory, right? We talk about inclusive AI learning. It becomes the central platform that adapts teaching tools to meet diverse learner needs. We can work with students with disabilities to access personalized accommodations. We can work with students, English language learners, to support translation, as we've discussed, amongst other, we can turn whole texts into languages. Okay. And we'll work with diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Equitable access measuring and resource tailoring that connect with the AI hub to reduce disparities, share supports, right? Creates this bridge, right? So we hear about an inclusive use scenario would be, you hear about AI tools being used, but wonder about, how do all students have access? Maybe they don't all have computers, etc. So inquire about that at the parent-teacher conferences or at the curriculum night. How are the AI tools being utilized? The more you ask about it, the more they're going to talk about it. Maybe they don't know, but you've opened up the bridge for conversation. Because remember, I said only 20% of teachers are using it, and 57% are hiding the use at work. So, it might not be such a free conversation, but if you surface it as a parent, right, you're empowering that conversation. You have the opportunity to advocate for policy with school administrators through the PACs, right, the parent advisory committees that your schools have, right? So the idea about being inclusive starts with you championing the use of AI and understanding the use of AI, not just being dictated to it. So becoming a partner. And again, the true north, agency, empowering student choices. All right. So I can't stress enough how this is the tool, AI, we've been waiting for to amplify this journey. And the question that we have to address is, how do we create it as an amplification of the journey and not a replication of it? We don't want to replace the journey. We want to take them deeper into the journey, right? And so the central role of the student is the decision maker, the creative director, have you, of the work, not just a passive recipient of AI generated ideas. Ooh, I put it in and it gave me this, right? There's an importance to promoting the ownership over your work, being discerning and encouraging adaptation of AI suggestions, not just taking them clean, but adapting them to better reflect your child's unique perspective and the goals that they have for their work. Use the visual diagram here, right? Right? Just to illustrate the different pathways that your child can take, right? They can do independent research, creative problem solving, critical analysis, all supported by AI as a complementary tool. And I want you to think about how you can empower your own children or your own students to take their own active role in their learning and leverage the AI responsibly. Scenario might be your child uses an AI tool to help brainstorm ideas for a project. So promote the ownership. Say, which of these ideas resonated with you? How are you going to develop them? Did you pick one to develop? How are you going to reflect your own voice in them? Teach them to be discerning, right? Help them understand how powerful this tool is, but you're the decision maker. You hold the power. And encourage adaptation, modify the suggestions, take what it gives you and work with it to fit your unique perspective as a student and champion your child's unique perspective as a parent. And finally, rigor. So you have to maintain high academic standards around this. This AI journey, it's critical that we maintain the high academic standards because it's critical for your child's learning, especially when we're using these tools. Information needs to be verified and fact-checked. We cannot just blindly accept what the AI provides. And this is what we want to instill in our children. Reinforce the need to properly cite all sources. This is becoming incredibly important. Include, did the AI assist you so that you're upholding academic integrity? Encourage your child to go beyond the AI summaries and develop a deeper understanding of the core concepts. You know, that idea of one thing leads to another, and we go down the rabbit hole of learning something. And AI really can help us do that. But we have to reinforce the critical evaluation skills. You have to guide your child to think critically about the information to form their own insights. Because if we uphold these kinds of high standards, it'll help our children build a strong foundation of knowledge and to prepare them to use this tool responsibly as we move forward into its generation, right? We know we're in the infant stages of this work. So if we line the ground floor with these pillars, with this clear compass, then we're certain to head on a positive trajectory with this work. So imagine your child's writing a report and references information they got from AI, from Perplexity, from ChatGPT, from any of them. So you want to emphasize verification. How are you going to fact check this information? Where can we find additional reliable resources? Okay. You want to reinforce citation. Hey, make sure that you credit the sources. No different than we do now. Promote deeper understanding. Encourage your child to go beyond the AI and deeply grasp those core concepts so that they can develop their own insights. So the clear compass, as you can see, plays out amazingly across all areas, both home and school. So I urge you to use this compass to help navigate these waters, always keeping what the school district's academic policies are at the forefront, understanding the clarity of those need to come from the district. So as parents, you can ask for that, and you should. Okay. So when you walk away from this work, you should have a tool. So this is a great tool. All right. We're going to send out, when we send out the PowerPoint deck to everybody, you'll get a copy of this in this PDF card. It'll be like a stoplight protocol. And we call it the Integrity and AI Use Guide, right? We want to understand the green, the amber, and the red zones, just like a stoplight. So I call it the stoplight protocol, right? And so in the green zone, we have permitted use, go, right? Safe and transparent AI support, grammar and spelling checks, reading level adjustments for comprehension, brainstorming initial ideas or topics, language translation for accessibility. Students should always acknowledge when they're accessing these tools as well. But these are encouraged. We should encourage this kind of use. Where we want to tread with some caution, that yellow, we're not sure if we should speed up or slow down, right? We require explicit teacher approval. So this is work that as parents you want to do in partnership with the teacher. Okay. You want to, things that like generating essay outlines or structure suggestions, getting coding hints or debugging assistance. This vibe coding business. Creating visual aids or presentation templates. We all know how hard it is to drag the circles all over the place. Let's not have it do it for us completely because we don't want to strip the creativity away, but let's adapt, right? And then we have the red zone. Stop. Okay. This is what violates academic integrity, and we don't want to sponsor this kind of work or this kind of behavior. We don't want to submit AI generated text as our own writing. We don't want to fabricate sources or fake citations. We don't want to have AI complete assignments without any meaningful input from your child. We don't want to bypass the learning to outsource the thinking, right? And finally, if you do these things, they're going to undermine your learning. So you're really just hurting yourself in the name of getting something done. So as parents, we have a vital responsibility to practice this protocol all the time with our kids. We all check homework. We all do homework, prep for the kids. Study for the test with our children. Utilize this stoplight protocol. We're in a new level now. It's not just, we have to make sure that we're engaging with them the right way around the tools that we know they're already using. So this stoplight protocol will be very helpful for you in the home, right? Now, the big one, right? Okay. As parents, myself included, our goal should be to approach our children's use of AI with genuine curiosity, not suspicion. Because the key is building open communication, as everything we've talked about here in the last 40 minutes or so, is we want to help them develop responsible habits, not monitor their every click, right? We want to observe patterns, like do we see unfamiliar apps, sudden changes in writing style, assignments completed unusually quickly, like, wow, that was done fast, but it's a really long assignment. Use these kinds of things as conversation starters, not accusations. Ask open-ended questions that prompt reflection, like, hey, what did you ask ChatGPT to do? Or how did ChatGPT help you understand this further? Can you explain it to me? Guide your child to maintain an AI use log, recording details like the tool used, what they asked for, and what they learned. I'm going to one better you and say you can check the log, right? When you use one of the chatbots, it gives you a log of what you asked so you can revisit that conversation later on. So check that log. Go in there, be a responsible parent and work with the child. Make sure, just like we check their phones or just like we check their bookmarks, all those different kinds of things. All right. But you want to be the guide and you want to help them. And you can use the stoplight protocol with the child as a tool to help them understand what's right, what's medium, what's wrong. And we want to start young because they're using it. Remember, this is the first group of children that are raised alongside AI. Finally, remember to frame these conversations positively. Focus on how the tools can help them learn. Don't focus on policing their actions. Building trust is key, as with anything, to developing responsible AI habits in our children. So finally, before we leave this to you for the evening, we want you to stay curious and stay connected. All right? Shouldn't replace judgment or creativity. It should sharpen both. And when we guide students thoughtfully, technology becomes the tool for deeper thinking, not a shortcut around it. And your partnership, above all, matters. You want to work alongside your child's teachers and administrators to navigate this evolving landscape together. Schools value your questions, we know this. They value your insights and your active involvement in shaping AI use. So I urge you to continue the conversation. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Again, you're going to receive a copy of this presentation, if you registered, and you will receive a copy of the Stoplight Protocol tool and the Clear Compass is built into here. So take these tools, use them at home, and here's to happy AI hunting and best happy Thanksgiving to everybody and wishing you a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you, David. And I think what came across loud and clear is that AI is only as good as that human interaction. And it's really important for parents to talk to the schools to find out what tools are appropriate, what tools they can be using beyond just what we think of ChatGPT and some of the other more common ones, because there's a whole world of them out there. We also want to encourage everyone that if you ever have questions about some of the tools, we have a wonderful bench. David mentioned Tennessee State University, which is a valued partner through STEM Leadership Alliance, STEM Happens Network, and Connect All Kids. And we can always go to them with questions. And they do a lot of testing and they pilot different tools and resources to really make sure that they're strong and supportive in the K-12 system. So, with that, we want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday, happy Thanksgiving. And for us in the US, it's Thanksgiving. For those around the world, we just want to wish you a wonderful holiday season. And stay tuned for our 2026 series that will start to draft and continue these conversations. All of these webinars we do record, and we are placing them up on our STEM Happens Network website as well as the STEM Leadership Alliance website. Um, and with that, I just want to thank everyone for joining us as we share this presentation today. So thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Take it easy.
And David, if